Okay, just wanted to come on here and kind of make sure that you guys are situated with our new unit that we're starting with the Pioneer unit. So yesterday I posted this slideshow, okay, and you can use this to just take notes on the time period. The reason why we did this is because you're going to be writing diary entries as if you are a pioneer traveling to Nebraska in the 1800s. So this is information that you're going to want to keep in mind when you're writing your diary. Okay. So for example, they traveled by covered wagons. So whoever you create for your person to write the diaries is going to be traveling by covered wagons. 20 miles, if they could make it 20 miles in a day, that would be awesome. So North Platte to Lincoln is 220 miles, so that would take 11 days just to travel from North Platte to Lincoln. Okay. Children would walk for miles. All this information, you can just write this down in a notebook so that you could refer back to it. You don't have to necessarily have it on a sheet per se. Okay. So that's the first thing that you want to do is just become familiar with what it was like for pioneers in different aspects of their life and write down some notes from the important information. Okay. The next thing that we went over was today we went over the Pioneer Project itself. This document is what you're going to want to use to guide you through completing this project. Okay, you're going to use this website, nebraskastudies.org. You're going to only use this time period. Whoever you create is going to be between the ages of 12 and 40. And you're going to have 4 entries per season. So you're going to have summer, winter, fall, and spring. And you're going to have at least 4 entries per season. So at minimum, you'll have 12 diary entry, or excuse me, 16 diary entries. Okay. You're going to include these facts that you're going to research the rest of this week and part into next week. You are going to include all those facts in your diary. Okay. This is a CSA when it's all done. Okay. The rest of the packet, this is something that we're going to look at today. We're going to look at this Homestead Act. This is for the person that you actually create. There's an example one, and then where you could put your character that you want to create. Okay. Here's your notes section. Now, if you would rather have a paper copy of this, there's 2 options. 1, you could just take notes. 2, you could come and pick it up at the school. I could leave it at the office and you could pick it up at the school if you'd rather have a paper copy, if that would be easier for you. But otherwise, you can certainly use this document. I'll make it fillable so that you can fill it out yourself. These are all the topics that you're going to include information about. You're going to research on that nebraskastudies.org website. Okay. Moving in a sod house. What about the weather? Things you would have for lunch, games. Then after you get your information, you're going to decide, well, is that something that they would be doing in the spring or summer, winter, fall? So those types of things. Because you remember you have to have 4 seasons and then journal entries under each season. Okay, here are some examples of what journal entries could look like. Okay, now you'll notice that things are underlined and numbered as you go through them. Things that are underlined and numbered are the facts that you're including. You have to have 48 of them at least. So this first one, let's just take a peek at that. March 13th, 1868. It's going to be lonely out here. We don't have any neighbors for another 4 miles. The land surveyors put us out on an abandoned claim. I don't really like being alone, but I can find plenty to do. I will help Pa gather grasses to make our sod house. Okay? So just in this little tiny paragraph, they included 3 facts. They knew that it was going to be lonely on the prairie because that was something that they found on the website. Also that their neighbors are about 4 miles away, and about the land surveyors. Those were the people that would put them on the claims. Okay, so that's 3 facts just right off the bat. Here's another example. I really like this one because this person wrote in the way that a pioneer might talk. Today, Mom was trying to clean the house, but the dang dirt floor ain't helping much. Pa said he would get some wood planks for the floor. Last night, there was the biggest thunderstorm I ever heard in my life. It was raining so much that when we went out back, we got drenched by the storm. Then the lightning was flashing, and there was the loudest boom I'd ever heard. That scared our dog Jake pretty bad. Nobody got any sleep because the storm and the rain made the creek flood over. It also made the house really wet. The rain kept dripping in the house, and we had to use some pots and pans to try to catch some of the water so the house wouldn't be totally soaked inside and out. Okay, so talking about cleaning the house was a fact, using wood planks for the floor, thunderstorms were something that they found facts about, all of those things. I really like this one because it added lots of details. All right, here is the nebraska.org, nebraskastudies.org. This is the website you're going to use. You're only going to look at this date, 1850 to 1874. My computer's super slow right now. Okay, so this gives you a little overview of the time period. And in your packet, the first thing that you want to look at is Homestead Act. So if you click on that, it brings you to the Homestead Act. You can go to the page. In your packet, there's a note sheet on the third page with some information about it. Okay. So basically, all this land was originally belonging to the Native Americans. But then, when they wanted to expand west, then they passed the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, which basically established Nebraska as a territory and took all of that land that was originally given to the Native Americans in those treaties and said, nope, we are going to open this up for people to be able to settle on it. Okay, so on your note sheet, the first thing that it asks is that land belonged to which peoples. The land that was given to settlers originally was promised to what group of peoples? That would be Native Americans. You would write Native Americans in there or type it in there in your case. In 1854, the government of the United States broke the treaty and opened the land up for settlers by what legislative act? Well, that was the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854. Piece of legislation that broke the treaty and gave that land to the settlers. All right, the next question said the Homestead Act of 1862 gave how many acres to settlers who lived in the land for at least 5 years? Well, right here it talks about the Homestead Act. It gave 160 acres to any head of the household who lived on the land for at least 5 years. And then the government turned around and gave this big tract of land to the railroads because they thought, well, if we have railroads, then we can get cargo through here, we can get people through here, we can really expand the West, really build the nation. And then those railroads turned around and offered this land to immigrants at a low cost. So even though the railroad was given this land with the intention that they were going to build railroads on it, they actually sold it to a lot of people immigrating to the West. Okay, then there's all of these cool videos. Like, for example, let's just take a peek at this one. Okay, so now there's not a section that talks specifically about that video, but there were some cool facts in there that you could write down and then turn around and add them to your diary. Okay, so you could have in there, maybe your little brother gets ran over by a wagon, because in the notes that we took from the PowerPoint, it talked about how kids would often walk next to the wagon. Well, maybe your brother gets run over, but doesn't get hurt. Maybe the ground is soft because it had rained and he didn't die. Or maybe he did die. I don't know. It's your diary. You can make it however you want to. Maybe you want to talk, maybe somebody got shot. Maybe Pa was getting the rifle out because he saw a rabbit that he was going to try to kill for dinner when they were in the wagon train. And he went to go pull the gun out, and it was caught on a tea kettle that Mom brought along. And maybe the bullet grazed his shoulder and they had to bandage Pa back up. Or maybe you want to talk about the buffalo. Here are these people, a lot of them coming even from other countries, seeing a buffalo for the first time. Maybe you want to write that down. Okay, so any of that stuff is up for grabs to use in your stories. All right, then as you're going through on your note sheet, it has all these different categories. Sorry, my computer is so slow. But that's where you're going to get your information to fill in on your note sheet. Like I said, if you want to get a note sheet, like the actual packet, if you feel like that's easier, I'm happy to make arrangements to get that to you. So searching for water wells and windmills, that's one of the categories you have to look for. Oh, this is so slow. Okay, searching for shelter, all those things. So please get a hold of me if you have questions on it. Also, email me if you want me to take a packet down to the office for you to pick up if you feel like that might be easier. But you're welcome to fill the notes out on your actual packet that I'm going to put on Classroom. Okay. On this one, you're welcome to do it that way. But whatever is easiest for you, the packet itself is a grade, and then the journal entries that you make from the information you wrote in the packet is the CSA. Okay, get a hold of me with any questions. We'll be having work time on this for the next few days.